Good morning, everyone. My name is Guy Payne, and I'm the director of the Sustainable Energy Outreach Network, SEON for short. And this is our 5th year in hosting the Sustainable Home Tour. In the past 4 years, it has been a road trip where people have visited various homes, either completed or under construction in Windham County, and also visiting some homes in Greenfield, Massachusetts. With the pandemic, we really saw an opportunity to go virtual and reach more people than we've ever had in the past. And as of now, probably we've gone almost 2.5 times the number of folks who have participated. It's also given us an opportunity to showcase homes outside of Windham County, which is the southeastern county in Vermont, as well as we're not dependent on the wet weather. So welcome for today. As in the past, this program is really tried to highlight what the best practices have been in residential building construction as it pertains to new processes, new technologies, and new products, all for the goal of optimum home performance. And I know for the building professionals, the idea of high performance homes is not new. But for homeowners, they tend not to think of homes in terms of a performing structure or a high-performing structure. And in this, we call it the whole house concept, in which we're giving consideration to the interrelationship of energy efficiency, of durability, of water and vapor management, of safety and health, of aging in place, and certainly aesthetics and the proper selection of products with the least amount of embedded energy. For the homeowners, we hope that what this will do is give you the kind of understanding of what is needed when you make your decisions about whether it'll be a new, an addition, or a retrofit, as well as the background of contractors that you want to select. They need to be able to convey to you their understanding of a whole house concept. For the building professionals, who many of them are here, you know it's always a great opportunity to listen to what your colleagues are doing as they advance all the new products and technologies, especially here in Vermont in the colder environments. In terms of SEON, we have been around for less than 10 years, just a little under 10 years. And our program has never changed. What we have done is our goal has been to expand the knowledge base of building professionals in terms of high performance buildings, as well as how do you engage the community to transition to a fossil-free environment. Certainly as it pertains to the built environment. Today's format is going to follow a fairly typical sequence through the 4 homes that are being highlighted. First, I'll introduce the home. Then there will be a recorded 8 to 9 minute session of the home itself, followed by a series of videos of some of the advertisers and sponsors. From there, I'll come back on and I'll introduce Jonathan Morse, Jonathan is the founder of Mindel Morse Builders and a founder of SEON. And he will look at the questions and offer those questions to either the builder or the architect in question. This program is being recorded. So if colleagues or whatever miss this, you can contact us for that. You'll see at the bottom of your screen shortly a poll that we're going to ask you to click and answer. There are two questions. One is, who are you in terms of homeowner or builder or architect? And the other is, what's your location? We're curious to know how big our reach has been. I think that is probably it in terms of the actual sequence. There is going to be, okay, it looks like we've brought on the actual post-it itself. So folks, if you can take a moment and fill in what that post is, that would be great. And Teresa will bring up the results. So 37% are homeowners, 11 interested in building a home, 9 retrofitting, 11 architects, 11 builders, no realtors, and 22% are others. There's another question for you, and this has to do with the location. Please hit post, click post, and that should come up again. Okay. I do know, okay, 65% are from Vermont, 9 from, I think you can all see, some are from Connecticut, Rhode Island, or Massachusetts. And I do know there is a firm in Ontario, as well as another firm out in Illinois who also had registered. So beyond the middle Atlantic states, there were certainly others. Okay, let's close. And what I do want to do is to give a quick acknowledgement and recognize some of the key personnel that were involved in putting on this program. Tim Wessel of Vermont Film, of Vermont Films, was the videographer. This taking all of the information and making it into a sequential whole. Teresa Spear, our indomitable program manager, controlling the incredible detail that was involved in this and shepherding it to Tim and then reviewing the work. She will remain sort of hidden in all of this program. John Hatton, sales manager of Berkeley and Veller, is also handling some of the controls of this program. Jonathan Morse, as I mentioned, will be the one highlighting the questions and giving them to the builders and architects. There are 3 high-performance professionals whose advertisements and sponsorship will appear at the very end. It didn't make sense to attach them to any one of the particular homes. And certainly, and most importantly, to our builders and architects. They had no idea what was going to be asked of them in making this come about. And frankly, neither did we. But true to the form of what SEON tries to stand for has been their effort to take the time to be educational, to present what the best practices are. So we extend our sincere gratitude toward them. Finally, there's the jargon. For the building professionals, this will be simple for you. But for many of the homeowners, this is a whole new language. And feel free, when we come to the question and answer, to ask some of your basic questions. It's not a problem. That's what we're here for. So if you have a question of what is a truss, what is a U value, any of those, feel free to ask those questions. Okay. I think with all of this as an introduction, let's move to our first project. And that is the Sugar Bush House by Mindel Morse Builders of Brattleboro. Garadolphus will be one of the speakers. And Bob Swinburne of Bluetime Collaborative was the architect. Both of them will appear for the question and answers. This was designed to meet the specifications of the North American Passive House Association, as well as aesthetically to blend into the wooded environment just north of Putney Center, which is in southeastern Vermont. This was actually on our tour last year. All that was sort of there were the studded walls and the foundation, and we thought this would be a great opportunity for people to see what the finished product is. So with that as an introduction to the Sugar Bush House, of Mindel Morse and Bluetime Collaborative. Let's turn to the video. Thank you.
Welcome to the Sugarbush House, designed by architect Bob Swinburne and built by Mindel Morse Builders in Putney, Vermont. The client lived on a dead-end road in a big house with a lot of gardens and animals, and it was starting to be too much for her to take care of. So she came to me wanting something smaller, more efficient, easier to live in, easier to grow old in, and so we started the process. I felt that this client would be a good match with Mindel Morse Builders, so I brought them in early in the process, and Gara was in fact sitting at the table in very early design meetings, helping me understand what the client wanted and helping to communicate with the client. That was immensely helpful. Later on, he got involved with detailing, and we really worked on a lot of this house together. We went through a process of rigorous simplification and ended up with a basic rectangular form with a single pitch roof on a frost-protected slab on grade. The walls are plain old 2x6 framing which holds up the roof. Then we put 2-foot deep floor trusses on the sloped walls spanning the short width. A very durable air barrier wraps the walls and the underside of the trusses. It's becoming the norm to consider the air barrier strategy during framing. The trusses overhang the walls, and we hung Larson trusses from the roof trusses and attached them to the wall. All this gets wrapped with the siding and roofing and filled with cellulose insulation. We can vary the depth of the roof truss and the Larson truss to adjust how much insulation we use. Early on, we decided to push the envelope, so to speak, about creating a very clean and simple construction methodology that combines best practice building science, super insulation, uses local wood everywhere we could. We also realized that due to the simplicity of the shell of the building, that it would be interesting and educational to go through the process of Passive House certification. This didn't change much about how we did things, but adding a PH or a Passive House consultant into the mix to help guide our decisions about windows and equipment. We took notes throughout the building process about what worked and what we could clarify and simplify the next time around. We wanted to try a prefabricated EPS foam foundation system, so we approached a Warm Forum about their system. We priced that out, and we were able to visit somebody else's project over in New Hampshire and came away pretty convinced.
The Miniature system is a combination of an ERV and an air-to-air heat pump. The ERV draws fresh air from the outside and exhausts stale air. The air is pre-treated to avoid dumping cold air in the winter and warm humid air in the summer into the house. The heat pump that provides the heating and cooling for the house lives inside the same box. This has several advantages. We don't need an outside compressor unit, and we don't need a mini split head. Instead, all you see outside the utility room are the grills for the supply and exhaust. Since we built this house to the Passive House standard, adding a small duct heater is all it took to turn this unit into a whole house solution.
We hosted a stop on the 2019 SEON home tour, and it was a good opportunity to explain what we were doing to a wide variety of people, including builders, architects, realtors. I like using hemlock boards for siding. It's a durable, local, low-embodied energy, carbon-storing material that we don't have to paint or stain. I tell clients that if boards show rot or get wonky, it's easy to replace them, and the old boards can get tossed in the bushes for salamander habitat. We used the boards vertically on this project and did a random arrangement of boards turned sideways, which creates a changing shadow pattern similar to the trees in the forest, especially in the winter. The siding of the house is like the rough bark of some of the surrounding trees and will eventually become similar in color. The porch and shed parts were framed in local hemlock and pine and designed to allow light and air through in the manner of an old barn. The deck is unfinished locust from the property, and the floors and stair treads are maple and cherry, also from the property. A design goal was to create a peaceful and light-filled chapel in the woods that could be open and airy but also dark and cozy on a winter's night, with a couch extending into the inglenook next to the wood stove and a reading light over the couch. Every window is tuned and considered to provide an almost interactive experience that changes with the time of day and the time of year and how a person lives in the house and moves about the house from one space to another. To wrap this all up, we tried some detailing and construction methodology that was new. Some things looked really good on paper and good enough to try out for real, and it was very satisfying to see them come to fruition. Garo and I pushed ourselves on this project. We hope to push ourselves on every project and to keep moving the needle forward in many ways. The client is very happy in her new home and probably still a bit stunned. The house will age in place for a few years and become more a part of the land.
Mindel Morse Builders creates beautiful, healthy, and comfortable homes that use little energy. Established in 1981, we pride ourselves in lasting relationships. Contact us for your new construction or remodeling project. Visit our website, mindelandmorse.com, and follow us on Instagram at Mindel Morse Builders.
Proclima's one-of-a-kind airtight vapor variable membrane Intello Plus now comes in a heavy-duty commercial-grade membrane suitable for up to 2 months of weather and UV exposure called Intello X. It offers the highest levels of protection for insulated assemblies against moisture damage, even for challenging constructions such as vapor-closed flat roofs or highly insulated walls. It can act as a temporary WRB and is ideal for metal construction, CLT, high-rise buildings, and prefab panels. Use Intello X with CLT panels and Gutex wood fiber board insulation to make top-tier, all-wood smart enclosure assemblies possible. It's available in 800 square foot rolls and can be reliably taped on either side because of its specialized polypropylene cover fleeces on both faces, ideal for connecting mid-wall airtight layers to inside roof air barriers. Intello X provides the long-lasting airtightness and intelligent vapor control of Intello Plus with the ability for temporary weather and UV exposure.
VSECU is a values-based financial cooperative that is open to everyone who lives or works in Vermont. Our vision is to inspire a movement that brings people together to empower the possibilities for greater financial, environmental, and social prosperity. With offices throughout the state, we offer a variety of loans and programs for customers looking to finance larger solar, home efficiency, or home energy improvements.
At Marvin, we make more than just windows and doors. We make fresh breezes and nightlights, relaxing retreats, open invitations, and peace of mind. At Marvin, we make windows and doors inspired by how you live, so you're inspired to live well.
Visit WW Building Supply, your local Marvin retailer in Newfane or Wilmington.
Let's move for many of you. This is the opportunity for questions and answers, so please click the Q&A button at the bottom. And would like to introduce Bob and Bob Swinburne and Garo, who will be the answers, the builder and architect, as well as Jonathan Morse, who will be feeding the questions to them. Go ahead.
Hi, folks. This is Jonathan Morse. I actually don't see any questions pertaining to this. Oh, here's one. Okay, so for the builder and architect, what is the square footage of this house?
I think it's a 1,300 square feet inside.
And that does not include the carport, right?
That's correct.
Okay, any other questions? Well, maybe we're done with the question and the Q&A for this. Bob and Garo, you did such a great job explaining it. Nobody has any questions, so that's great. So let's move on, Guy.
Okay. I was going to say, Bob and Garo, thanks for your your full line of answers to the questions. But I think what we can do is move on really to our next. Let me also
wait.
Okay.
Oh,
Coming
there
to
it
an
is. I didn't. Okay, so I didn't scroll down enough.
Scroll down.
Norm asks, what was the cost?
Garo?
That's a conversation for a different time.
Well, can you give us a rough square footage cost, or do you not want to answer it?
I would rather not answer that now.
Client confidentiality, I guess.
Okay. Lydia says, could we please know more about the foundation membrane?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So it's a foam system that most of it comes from or a big chunk of it comes from prefabricated from the manufacturer warm form, and it sits on top of a gravel bed, and then we added more foam in the center of the foundation. So in the center of the foundation, we have about a foot of foam, and then there's a vapor barrier underneath the whole thing, then structural steel and a concrete slab underneath the whole situation. A lot of the foam was reused to, keep the carbon footprint low.
I think part of the question here, Garo, is what is the membrane that you used?
It's a product by Henry, the same company that makes Henry Blueskin.
Okay, next from Tom McLaughlin. What is the black siding on the porch?
So that's just 1x pine. And we painted it with a linseed oil paint. So it's an old-timey paint that sort of is more similar to a stain that sort of is going to wear thin over time and can easily be maintained.
Daniel asks, you probably don't want to answer this either, the overall budget for the project. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, why was cellulose chosen for insulation?
Cellulose is a recycled product.
That's related to the next question, which is... Sorry, should I go?
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is related to the next question, which is what is a Larson truss? Cellulose is one of the least expensive, lowest embodied energy types of insulation. It's a recycled product, and using the Larson truss system, which is basically
adding space on the outside of the structure that we can then fill in with cellulose. So we create a warm blanket around the house, not just insulating within the stud cavities in the wall.
Okay, so that is partly answering the next question, right, Bob? That what is a Larson truss? And I think maybe you could, well, I could say this, that our Larson truss is a structure that is built to be attached to the outside of the frame and gives insulation space that does not intrude on the square footage of the house. Is that fair?
That sounds good.
Okay.
And there are pictures of it in, if people want to go back through the presentation. I assume that people are able to do that at some point.
Right. And you can also look up Larsen, that's with an E, Larsen. You can look it up on the web and get some information. Question from Teresa, is spray foam insulation a healthy home option?
Gara?
That's a tough one. We don't use spray foam for a variety of reasons. It can be finicky to work with. It's about the carbon footprint, and it has a variety of qualities that don't really fit our program. So we stay away from it. So I can't really speak to that, or don't really want to get into that debate.
So I'll just say this as the former co-owner of Mindel Morse, that we started going away from foams in general, except for under slabs, years ago. And wherever possible, we're trying to, we have been in there, I think Garo and Josh are trying to stay away from them, partly because it's a petroleum product, and we're trying to stay away from petroleum products. Okay. Next, could you describe the HVAC system?
Yeah, so that probably went pretty fast. It's essentially a combination of a ducted mini split system. So it's an air-to-air heat pump that's linked to a energy recovery ventilation system. So it takes fresh air from the outside, heats it in the winter or cools it in the summer before it distributes it inside the house. And the heat pump is then linked to a duct heater, which sort of gives us an extra boost in the winter time to heat the house. In addition, the house has a wood stove. Just to sort of jump to a question further down the road, the wood stove is airtight, and the wood stove is ducted to the outside directly. So it's basically independent of, it doesn't draw air from the house, it only draws air from the outside, and then the exhaust goes into the chimney. So in a sense, it's the only interaction with the house is giving off the heat. So that's a way how you can have a wood stove inside an airtight house.
There's a question about the passive house certification process, which I'm not sure you've actually gone through yet, have you?
We're still working on the last bits of it. We passed all the criteria. One of the things is the site itself didn't lend itself to solar power. So what the client is going to do is buy into community solar, which is another one of the last piece for the certification process. So it's still undergoing, but
maybe you
Basically
could
check
say,
all the boxes.
how did the certification process work for you?
So the certification process itself, it's largely taken care of by outside consultant, plus somebody from Efficiency Vermont is a third-party certifier. So we basically just built the house to the Passive House standard, and then fed all the information, and somebody comes in and checks the air tightness, makes sure that all the appliances that we said we were going to put in the house are in the house. And there are several steps to the certification. They come out several times to inspect insulation levels and do a final inspection. So it was a good process.
Okay.
Jonathan, we're coming into approaching 10 minutes. So what I need to do, Bob, looks like you raised your...
Yeah, I have a question. I'm answering some of the questions off in the chat. Will I still be able to do that?
That I don't know.
We'll see. Okay.
Yeah, I will say we realize with each, and I can't remember if I said this earlier, so my apologies. We scheduled this for an hour and a half, leaving 10 minutes per home for the question and answers. If people need to leave after the hour and a half, that's fine. But Garo and Bob and Andrew and all the other speakers have volunteered to stay beyond that till noontime. So there will be an additional time made available for folks with for questions and answers. They've also have said that they are available to answer any follow-up questions by going to their website. So all those options are available. And also, as I said, this is being recorded. So with that, what I'd like to do is to move on to our next home, which is the Sun Hill Farm by Jonathan Klein Builders. And Jonathan is of Putney himself. And what this is, the Sun Hill Farm, is an old homestead that has served as a artist in residence site, where they were trying to use the working landscape as a means of fostering the artist's own creative expression. During a charrette, it was really found that the facility they had was not conducive to the kind of work they were doing. And it led to portions of one wing that was no longer appropriate. So they decided to have an addition to an older home. So what we have here is a high performance addition to an older home. The addition provides the private space for the owner, as well as working space for many of the artists. So with that, what I'd like to do is to turn to the next video of Sun Hill Farm with Jonathan Klein Builder.
Hi, Jonathan Klein of Jonathan Klein Builders. Thanks for joining me on a quick tour of Sun Hill Farm in Putney, Vermont. First, a quick thanks to SEON, John Burt, the owner, Ted Maria of Royal Sheridan Architects, and my core crew of Joe Velasky, Ed Schaefer, and Jay Perlberg. A full list of essential contributors will follow this presentation. This project is part of master plan development of Sun Hill Farm, an artist residency retreat focused on promoting creative thought and expression by connecting to the natural environment. One of the many components of Sun Hill is to become resilient to climate change. The addition is a result of a dynamic design charrette which discovered the need to expand an existing 19th century farmhouse into a 21st century public-private space which will serve as the hub of Sun Hill's activities. Now I'd like to describe the all-important building envelope. Starting with the roof, moving inward, we have standing seam roofing, roof underlayment, tongue and groove 5/8 sheathing. Gussets and 2x4s extend the depth of the 2x10 rafters to 16 inches. This also creates a thermal break. Next to the sheathing is a 1-inch airspace and then to hold in the 14 inches of dense packed cellulose, we used a semi-permeable 1-inch XPS foam. The total R value is 54. Next, DB Plus, a variable permeable vapor barrier and air barrier with high recycled content, is placed over the system. Finally, there's strapping and sheetrock. Looking at the wall section, the exterior siding is locally milled shiplap pine. Behind that is a drainage plane siding breather created by house-wrapped tape seams and a poly mesh. The sheathing is 1/2-inch OSB with tape seams. OSB, by the way, is noteworthy as a green choice as it uses poor quality timber rather than the vanishing older growth trees. Then the next system I created is 2x6s with strips of 1/2-inch foam over the studs as a thermal break, then 2x3s are nailed over that. Finally, sheetrock to create an 8-inch cavity for the dense packed cellulose for a total R value of 25. Here's a picture of the finished results on the second floor, John's personal space. Note the reuse of old posts that came from the old wing. In the new basement, the crawlspace walls are sprayed with 3 inches of foam, then coated with an intumescent paint for an R value of 15. The functional walls have 1 inch of spray foam, 4 inches of dense packed cellulose, and sheetrock for an R value of 25. Note the radon-ready pipe in the slab that can be hooked up to the pipe already installed to the roof in case it's necessary. Here's a picture of the Energy Star rated Brown Energy Recovery Ventilator that not only transfers heat but also moisture. The heating system is the existing oil burner using these new rental radiators. An efficient wood stove is connected to fresh air intake, and plans for a multi-building wood-burning furnace expanding the PV system are underway. The windows are made by Zola, designed in Germany, manufactured in Poland, exceptional quality. The U value is 0.11, the R value is 9. These are a tilt and turn style with 2 5/8 thick frames. This is certainly an interesting project and a real pleasure to work with a lot of different tradespeople and a lot of different designers. And part of the challenge was to bring the old house into the new house, which is a more contemporary design. And one of the favorite things for me is reusing many of the old beams from the old house and finding good places to use them. And in the kitchen here, you can see we put, some of these posts are actually structural. They're really holding up the building, whereas others are put there just as a reminder of how houses were built. And this is part of the old building. So not only do we have pieces of the old building, but you know, these were you know, old trees when they were cut down and built in this house a long time ago. So I often think about what was going on in the world when these were baby trees, let alone now parts of this beautiful house. So the beam work is really particularly satisfying for me to work on. So for me, that's one of the special things about this building. John was interested in reusing materials from the old wing, as well as moving towards more durable materials. In this kitchen photo, you will see locally sourced cherry and soapstone counters, maple flooring cut from the trees on the farm. On the exterior, standing seam roof was chosen for the new addition, and slate was put on the old house to replace the asphalt shingles. Vermont hemlock siding was used on the old house too. Part of the multi-use resilient design was to incorporate a first floor handicap accessible bathroom. Built as a wet room with a drain, it is equipped with a handheld shower attachment. Thank you again, and please make note of the following talented and hard-working contributors who made this project a success.
Are you tired of paying high costs to keep your home comfortable? Drafts, chills, gusts of wind, and moisture can cause discomfort in your home as heating or cooling escapes. Our goal at Farnham Insulators is to make your home as comfortable as possible. Making your home more comfortable will save you money as a result. We help prevent your hard-earned money from escaping into your attic and eventually out of your house. We use a variety of techniques to keep your home comfortable and improve indoor air quality. We combat the problems in your attic, basement, and walls that allow energy to escape. By reducing moisture infiltration in your basement, we help keep your home warm and dry. Insulation and air sealing help prevent heat from escaping your home. We install gutters that move water away from your home, and we provide a warm coat of insulation to keep you protected from the elements and feeling cozy at any time of the year. Investing in the comfort of your home is one of the best home improvements you can make, and with state incentives and low or no interest financing options, Farnham Insulators can make it easier and more affordable than ever. Insulate now, and it will pay off for many years to come. Visit FarnhamInsulators.com today to start your journey to a healthier, more comfortable home.
At Friends of the Sun, we sell, install, and service all of our products. You see, selling wood, pellet, or gas stoves aren't sidelines for us. Neither are window treatments, awnings, or outdoor furnishings. They are what we do. We're knowledgeable about the latest technology in heating and cooling, and we display only those products in our showroom. Once we understand your needs, chances are good we can show you the right product. Please visit us at www.friendsofthesun.com.
Efficiency Vermont has an impact on the amount of energy we use as a state, encouraging people to make improvements to their own houses, and they work one-on-one with businesses as well.
Efficiency Vermont helped us in achieving our goals of becoming more energy efficient and saving money. In addition, we just live in a more comfortable home.
The services that Efficiency Vermont offers are accessible to all Vermonters.
I think most people think of Efficiency Vermont, they go into a hardware store or wherever they're buying their light bulbs and they can see a rebate. But they sent an individual on site who did an audit, and then they provided some advice on upgrades that could be made that would yield long-term electrical savings.
After we first moved into our home and realized we were burning a ton of fuel oil to heat, we started to look into avenues of becoming more energy efficient.
Why waste money on energy that you can spend on other things?
Unfortunately, what has happened with Jonathan Klein, he's been called away for complexities with the job site. So he offers his apologies. I realize many of you have multiple questions about the project that you just saw. Jonathan said that he'd be very willing to respond to any of your emails and questions. So please, what we're asking you to do is to forward the questions to me at admin@seon.info, and I'll make sure that all those questions that you have get sent on to Jonathan. He offers his apologies, but given the kinds of pressures and stresses that everyone's up under, this was not avoidable, or unavoidable. So with that, let's go to really our next home, on our next project. Our next project is the Vermont model of Unity Homes. This is a brand new house. And Unity Homes is a division of Bensonwood in Walpole, New Hampshire. Here we have an example of the high performance technology now of what we would call a panelized home. So the structure and the design looks like a Vermont farmhouse. Everything has been manufactured in the facility in Keene, and the structure went up in 8 days. It is a all electric house, net zero. And what we'll have is Andrew Dye, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Unity Homes, who will lead us on the tour as well as answer any of the questions at the end. So let's go to the video with Andrew, and then we'll return with the Q&A.
Hi, I'm Andrew Dye, Operations Director for Unity Homes. Today we're in Norwich, Vermont to tour a VARM-style home and to speak with the homeowners, Sue and Chris, about their experience building and living in a Unity home. Let's go take a look inside. Hi, Sue, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Hi, I'm Suzanne.
And I'm Chris.
And we own a Unity home in Norwich, Vermont. We chose the VARM because I really like the modern farmhouse look.
At the heart of the VARM is an open kitchen, dining, and living area that optimizes the first floor space. Open floor plans are a hallmark of most Unity designs because they allow smaller homes to feel much larger without actually increasing the square footage. The L-shaped kitchen layout is common in VARMs with a multi-purpose island in the center. In addition to the usual upper cabinets flanking the range, this kitchen features open shelves and a generous pantry closet for storage. The range is electric and operates on the principle of induction. These ranges are very efficient and offer so much control for cooking that many professional chefs now prefer them over gas. Chris and Sue opted for a screen porch on the south side of the house. Having the screen porch readily accessible off the kitchen and dining area means it's easy for the family to enjoy meals out there when the weather is nice. The double glass doors off the dining and living areas help to ensure plenty of southern light for these primary areas.
This light is what I love when I'm working over here. Because I work from home remotely.
So this is your home office?
This is my home office. Having all this natural light, I really like being in the house when I'm working.
The master bedroom is in a wing off of the living room. Unity offers first floor master suites as an option for all VARM-style houses.
And I really love that we vaulted the ceilings in here. I know that was like something we talked about maybe not doing.
Yeah, there's a version that has a flat ceiling.
Yeah, I can't imagine not doing it, honestly. It looks so nice, and everybody always comments on the wood and the beams.
This master suite includes a generous bathroom and a walk-in closet. The stairway along the middle of the long wall is a signature feature of the VARM platform. It's one of those elements in Unity's design system that generally remains fixed. Unity offers several layouts for the second floor configuration of the VARM. Sue and Chris chose to design their second floor configuration around a large multi-purpose space they use for everything from family activities to working out. Very handy when you're spending lots of time at home. The two smaller upstairs bedrooms are the kids' rooms. Both are spacious enough for a bed, dresser, and closet, but also compact enough to allow plenty of space for the adjacent rec room, which was a priority for the family. Chris and Sue opted to put their laundry area on the second floor, but it can also be located on the first floor.
I think the word prefab gets a really bad rap. I was able to put my own touches on the house, use different paint colors, so there's nothing about this that says prefab to me.
When they worked with Unity to design the house, Chris and Sue were on Unity's personalized design path, meaning that most of the design elements, finishes, and fixtures were standard. But in a few areas they customized beyond Unity's standards, for example, the tiled steam shower in the master bathroom and the light fixture above the dining room table.
Well, my favorite thing about the house is the mudroom, and we trash it with mud, with snow, with book bags, with books, jackets, you name it. And this way I have a place to put it, and I even have a door that I can shut it and close it all off to. And I think it keeps the rest of the house a lot cleaner too, having that entryway.
It's super quiet because of how tight it is. It's just a very relaxing place to be.
It's so quiet. We put a motion sensor on the driveway because they'd come to deliver a package and I wouldn't know until the second that they rang the doorbell or knocked on the door, and it would scare me.
Yeah, the doorbell would ring and it would scare the daylights out of you. I mean, you have no idea. You can't hear anything.
Some of the natural constraints of the prefab helped us control what the budget was going to be, the overall budget of how much the whole house was going to cost. I think also the length of time, too, was really important to us. We wanted to be in the house and enjoy it as quickly as we could.
Right. Yeah, the actual time to construct the building is extremely short compared to a traditional construction process.
Chris really wanted to see the house go up, and he got a call from them that they were going to be doing it, and he almost missed it because the whole house went up within a week with the roof on it and everything.
Right. Instead of a construction crew doing all the framing on site, all of the nails are exactly on center because the wall sections are fabricated mostly by automated machines.
Because Unity homes are so energy efficient, the systems for heating and cooling them can be relatively small. In fact, most of the mechanical equipment for this house fits in this space behind the stairs. There's a ventilation system here. There's also a heat pump water heater. The heating and cooling for the first floor is provided by an air source heat pump, also known as a mini split system, and there are 2 wall registers, one here in the main open living area and another wall unit in the master bedroom that are providing the heating and cooling to the entire first floor. The heating and cooling for the second floor is provided by an innovative system known as a conditioning energy recovery ventilator, or a CERV. Basically, that system, in addition to providing heating and cooling via a system of ductworks to the second floor, is providing continuous filtered fresh air through ducts for the entire house.
We haven't been here quite a year, but we have gone through a winter, and it's been really cold. I mean, there was nights where it was double digits negative, and the house feels very comfortable. We've never had to use the baseboard heat. We have it as a backup if we ever needed to, but just the mini split systems that heat the bottom of the house and then the heat pump that brings it upstairs was enough to keep us warm all winter.
At Unity, we strive to build all of our homes using non-toxic materials that are sustainably sourced. We also build our homes to be all electric, meaning that there's no need to burn fossil fuels. Chris and Sue had an 11 kilowatt photovoltaic array installed on the roof of this house, and they had a Tesla Powerwall battery installed in the garage. These systems power the house, they power the electric vehicle, they help to ensure that electricity is available when the sun isn't shining, and they also provide a level of resilience for when the grid goes down.
If the power goes out and the backup Tesla wall battery is engaged, it's seamless. So your phone buzzes and you get a notification from the app that you're now on the backup wall battery, but you don't notice it. The lights don't flicker, the TV doesn't change. So there's been several instances where we were sitting and the power went out and we didn't even notice that it happened.
The photovoltaic panels, the efficient heating and cooling systems, the low energy appliances, these are all important ingredients for net zero performance, but the building envelope is really critical, and that's where Unity shines. We build our homes with thick super insulated walls, we use triple glazed windows, we build with airtight construction, and it's this high performance shell that is really the cornerstone of net zero performance.
Having a finished product that's as sustainable as it can be, I think is beneficial, from an environmental standpoint. And, I also think that what makes it sustainable also makes it really high quality from a construction standpoint. So, this house will be here for 100 years. It's extremely well built.
Berkeley & Biller Greenwood Country is the largest and oldest independent real estate agency in Windham County. We are family-owned, and our company culture is just that. We're a big family. We have fun together, and we work well together. Since 1965, we've helped thousands of buyers and sellers turn their real estate dreams into reality. Between our 2 offices, we have 28 agents. Our agents are a wealth of information and resources. The properties we've sold have a huge range from mobile homes and tiny houses, very small lots to hundreds of acres, antique houses and farms to stunning energy-efficient contemporaries, mom-and-pop storefronts to large commercial buildings. So, let us help you with your real estate projects and needs. Call or email, visit our website, have us work up a market value for your property, or help you find your next home. We are your real estate experts.
Hi, if you have an older home and your windows are drafty, in need of repair, or just a little TLC, call Thomas McLaughlin, Window Repair and Weatherization at 802-254-9370. Thank you.
The world is changing, and we all need to rise to meet the challenges that these changes will bring. Sustainability and resilience are two of the most important tools we have in navigating our future. Brattleboro Savings and Loan has been living these values for over 100 years. As a certified B Corp, we've invested heavily in reducing our carbon footprint and, more importantly, doing the right thing for our communities. Whether you're buying or building a new home, consider putting your money where your values are. BratBank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Do you have a concrete foundation? Rooter Foundation Repair stops leaks from cracks in the wall and around septic and water lines and stabilizes both concrete and concrete block walls. We can often provide quotes from pictures texted to us at 802-579-9309. Now in our 7th year of service.
There's so many things about a building that should be lifted, not just for Unity clients, but really for everyone. In the Unity proposition, we're simply trying to demonstrate what buildings should be to better serve people and their families and the planet, and future generations, and the community, and the neighborhood, and the country. They're all connected.
Okay, thanks to everyone. I think right now what we'll be able to do is to turn to Andrew Dye of Unity Homes, who will be fielding your questions that have been submitted or given to Andrew by Jonathan. So take it away, Jonathan.
Okay, so far we've only got 2 questions that pertain to this house. The first question is, how do you handle the cool air coming off the heat pump? The heat pump water heater in the living space?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's actually a fairly large space underneath the stairs where the mechanical equipment is. There's a Minutair conditioning energy recovery ventilator similar to the one that was described in Garo and Bob's project. So that's in that space, and also the heat pump water heater is in that space. And I believe that it's just the heat pump water heater is making that space more cool, and it's not really a problem because it's quite a large closet and it's not really materially affecting the thermal comfort in the rest of the house.
Okay, the next question is, what is the window manufacturer and what type are they? What material?
So those windows are made by a company called Logic. They're distributed by Pinnacle Window Solutions up in Maine, and the material is UPVC. They've got PVC frames. They're triple glazed. They're European style tilt turn windows. They've got double gaskets. They're very tight. We've been very pleased with the windows. We mount a mid mount in the walls, which is a little bit different from, say, a flanged window that would be mounting on the outside, but that has thermal advantages as well. And it's better for durability. So we've been quite pleased with the Logic windows.
Okay. Tim wants to know, would you build a house in Montana?
Well, Tim, there's no reason in principle Unity couldn't ship the flat packed panels that we use for building our homes anywhere in the country. And in fact, our sister company, Bensonwood, has been doing that for decades, building all over the country. But we've never built farther west than Ohio. And we tend to focus in New England, and we've built a lot generally in the Northeast. One of the reasons is because the farther away we're trucking the components for these homes, the more expensive it gets. And so to truck a package to Montana might add, $30,000 or $40,000 to the cost of the project. So that's one detriment, or one obstacle. Another one is that we're trying to pay attention to the carbon footprint of these homes. And so obviously if we're sending, 3 trucks full of panels out to Montana, that's not good for the carbon footprint of the project. But that said, we're talking with developers out west about doing multiples of Unity homes in particular communities and thinking we could generate some economies of scale there. And there are some Unity-like projects that our sister company Bensonwood is doing, one out in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and another one in Colorado. So it's possible. It's just there's some obstacles to be overcome.
Okay. I missed one. Are the mechanical systems noisy, and do they this person says put off vibrations? Are they?
So interesting question, and I guess we need to kind of drill down into what's meant by mechanical systems. The heat pump water heater does make a bit of noise, but again, because of the location, it's not an issue really for the living areas. Those walls are insulated for that space under the stairs, and the homeowners haven't mentioned anything about the noise from the heat pump water heater being an issue. But it is something to take into consideration. So they are going to be making more noise than, say, just a traditional electric resistance water heater. In terms of vibrations, the water heater doesn't put off significant vibrations. The one thing to pay attention to in that regard would be the compressor unit. That's the outside unit of a mini split system. So that's got the condenser that's doing the real work of a mini split system. It's located outside because it's handling outside air. We tend to put them on, a concrete pad or some sort of a solid footing and not attach them to the house. It is possible to mount those units to the side of a house, but we caution against doing that. Mounting it outside of a living area, like a master bedroom, bad idea. So you can put it on the wall of a garage or something, because the vibration from those units will actually transfer through the walls, and you just want to be careful about that.
Okay, so what make is the heat pump water heater?
It's a RHEEM, R-H-E-E-M.
Okay. Can you describe the envelope assembly?
Sure. So Unity Homes has two standard wall assemblies that we offer, and this one consists of 2x8 wall framing at 24 inches on center, so optimized framing, and those stud cavities are filled with dense packed cellulose. On the outside of those studs is a continuous layer, 1.5 thick, 9/16 thick of wood fiber insulation. So it's a rigid insulation board that's enclosing the outside of those studs. And then on the inside of the studs, we install a layer of 7/16 inch OSB oriented strand board. And that's actually the air and vapor control layer. So we're taping the seams of that OSB on the inside. So basically we've got the 2x8 studs, we've got the 1.5 inch insulation on the outside continuous, and then we've got the 1/2 inch OSB inside, and we're dense packing those stud cavities with insulation. The roof on this, and Unity offers a variation of those insulated panels to frame roofs. Typically we're using CJIs that would be 11 7/8 or 13 inches deep for the insulated roof panels. But in this particular house, and in the farm style houses in general that we build, the roofs are framed with conventional trusses. And so then we put a membrane under those trusses that are 24 inches on center. The membrane goes under the bottom cord of the trusses. And then we have cellulose, just loose cellulose blown in on top of that membrane.
Along with that, Andrew, can you give some detail on installing the air barrier at the time of a house assembly?
Yeah, so a lot of the air barrier work is done in the shop, in the controlled conditions of the shop, where I mentioned that the seams are taped in the shop. So it's really the intersections of the panels that we're paying particular attention to when we're assembling the house on site. And so wherever panels come together, we're using a double bulbed neoprene gasket. I think it's made by a company called Trelleborg, and that goes at all of the panel joints. And then we also tape those joints. We've gotten away from using foams and caulks just because we don't feel that they offer the durability necessarily that can be achieved by gaskets and by tapes. You know, the tapes offered by 475, one of the sponsors of this event, and by SIGA are really remarkable, and we use a variety of those different tapes for different applications. So one of the tricky spots in this kind of a house, this particular style, where you've got the roof trusses and you've got the membrane underneath, is air sealing the membrane. And so where the membrane overlaps under the trusses, it's not too difficult to just tape that joint. But at the edges, again, it's all about the intersection of the edges, where the sealing membrane meets the wall panels. That's something to pay attention to. I've just been I'm trying to get a video uploaded to Unity's YouTube channel that actually does a walkthrough of a completed shell, where we're using a blower door to check air tightness, both to measure the air tightness, but also to look for leaks. So a blower door can be a useful tool for making the shell more airtight. You depressurize the house, you feel where the air is coming in, and you seal it. So hoping to get that video up on the YouTube site in the next few weeks.
Okay. Okay, I think I can answer this question. The insulation is cellulose, correct?
Yes, it is. Well, it's the dense packed cellulose in the walls, and it's the loose fill cellulose above the second floor ceilings, and then it's the 1.5-inch fiberboard that goes continuously on the outside. It's kind of an unusual material in North America anyway. It's been used for a couple of decades in Europe. We're importing ours by the container load from Europe. It's made by a company called Styco. There are other companies, Butex and Agapon, I think 475 sells Butex. There's an interesting initiative underway to actually to build a factory to create this wood fiber insulation board up in Maine. And the folks from Go Home and Go Logic and Go Labs are involved with that. So we're interested to see how that unfolds. And we hope to be buying our wood fiber insulation from Maine rather than from Europe in another year or two.
Great. Unity homes are great, but do your designs incorporate aging in place concepts?
Yeah, we do pay attention to that, and we have sort of variations on that theme that we can offer. Typically, we're not building our homes to be fully ADA compliant, but we're working on a Xyla style house right now that's going to be going up in Jaffrey. And you know, a lot of our clients are older, they're retiring or they are retired, and they're looking to sort of invest in this house that they're going to live in for the rest of their lives. So it's certainly something that comes up. You may not see a lot of aging in place kinds of features in the example plans on our website, but that's something that we're doing more of, we're getting better at, we're increasingly incorporating in our designs. And there are a number of different ways that plays out, particularly with bathrooms and kitchens, but also with doorways. And so it's something we're paying attention to, and it's something that we can do. And we would, if that is of particular interest, we'd put a particular focus on that for your design.
So there's a question about R values for the roof, walls, and windows.
All right, so the R values of the walls are about an R34. The roof, you can sort of put in as much insulation as you want up there. This has a value of about R60 up in those trusses, and the foundation insulation is an R15 that we achieve using kind of a graphite impregnated XPS installation.
And what about the windows?
Ooh, the windows, good question. I should have that information off the top of my head, but I don't. I mean, generally we go by U values for windows, and I believe the U values for the Logic windows are around a 0.19. I think it's below 0.2, if I'm not mistaken, but you can look that up also online on the Logic website.
Okay.
Jonathan,
are you able to
Jonathan, we're coming up to 9 minutes, so one more quick question.
All right, are you able to give a cost estimate on this house?
Yeah, the big question. So I guess I can answer that in a couple different ways, and I'll be quick, Guy. In general, Unity homes that we're building, that we're general contracting in Vermont and New Hampshire, tend to be coming in around $250 to $300 a square foot. There are lots of factors that affect the cost of the home, including a lot of decisions that the homeowners are going to make, and whether it's on a foundation or a slab. This one happens to be on a slab, which is more cost effective. But you know, the total cost of this house was north of $600,000, and they made a bunch of choices that increased the cost, such as that beautiful Wolf induction range that you saw in the kitchen. So that's sort of a general answer about that.
Okay, we have a number of other questions which we will try to answer at the end of our program.
Sure, and if people want to reach out to me, Andrew at unityhomes.com, shoot me an email sometime. I'll try and get back to you with any answers that don't get answered. Any you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, Andrew, thank you very much, and I know we're going to be seeing you later. So, all right. Excuse me. So let's go to our final house. We're calling it or Alan and Nancy call it the Resurrected Farmhouse, which will be Alan and Nancy Benoit's final home and workplace and office. Alan and Nancy, Principles of Sustainable Design, Vermont. And what this house does is sort of capture a tradition in Vermont in which there is great historic and environmental conservation efforts. So what we have here is a resurrected vacant farmhouse for I don't know how many years that was I think built in 1880. They'll correct me on this. When all done, this is an ongoing project. When all done, it will be net zero. It will be all electric, as well as meeting all of the Energy Star designations. So let's turn this. Before I say that, wanted to make sure, knowing Alan and Nancy, that they're reclaiming the local landscape for sustainable gardening. I know that's a passion. So let me turn it over now to Alan and Nancy with their resurrected farmhouse.
We are Alan and Nancy Benoit. We own an architecture firm in Manchester, Vermont, and this is an overview of the deep energy retrofit we are doing to our old farmhouse.
This will be our next home and our new office. We are hopeful that we can eventually retire here. It's an 1880s farmhouse that has seen minor upgrades and additions over the years. The front of the house sits just 20 feet from the road, which you can see in the foreground here.
When we took ownership of this old farmhouse, it had 3 sets of stairs outside, and most of the house sat on a very shallow crawl space.
It also had 2 chimneys, a buried propane tank, and a partial marble block foundation.
The siding was a rustic mix of vinyl, asbestos, lattice, and painted particle board. And while some of the spaces did have insulation, it wasn't quite up to today's standards.
Getting started, we hired a certified asbestos removal company to take away the asbestos shingle siding. And then our contractor removed the 140-year-old clapboards underneath.
We hired Deconstruction Works out of Brattleboro to perform the first round of demolition. They disassembled most of the interior partitions and removed the sun porch entirely. The stacks of lumber, doors, flooring, and windows were salvaged and reused. And the appliances, wood stove, light fixtures, and other items were donated to charity.
The house was stripped down to its original sheathing boards, and the propane tank was excavated out of the ground and trucked away.
We decided to have some fun one weekend by taking down the chimneys ourselves. There's nothing like being up 25 feet in the air with a jackhammer in your hand.
Removing both chimneys left rather large holes in the soffits and roof, both of which needed to be patched and filled.
Once the old paper was removed from the exterior, it was obvious that there were some significant gaps in the board sheathing that we would have to address and rectify.
And a few of the gaps were quite large. This one was over 2 inches tall.
To address these gaps, we chose a self-adhered membrane. And for better energy performance, we prepared the window openings to receive exterior insulation. We took advantage of the membrane's adhesive properties and used it to flash the window bucks to the sheathing.
We used a product called thermal butt to prepare the rough openings and to bring the windows out to the same plane as the siding.
We changed the location of many windows to fit our new floor plan and chose Sierra Pacific H3 windows with a maple interior.
After installing the windows, we flashed around them the thermal butt and all the way back to the weather-resistant barrier with a wide acrylic flashing tape.
We also reinstalled triple pane windows on the north facade to improve comfort and performance there.
On the inside, in addition to moving some windows, we made some drastic changes.
We removed the various layers of plaster and lath from the ceilings, and when we did, we discovered dozens of old corn cobs along with marbles, rope, and other random objects.
We removed the plaster and lath from the balloon-framed walls as well, and found that they were also filled with surprises, which included bottles, toys, books, knickknacks, and even crutches.
One item we found in abundance in the walls were shoes. Apparently in the 1800s, it was common practice to place shoes in the wall cavities to lure and capture witches. You can never predict the things you will learn when renovating a house.
After removing all the random junk in the walls, we had the cavities filled with dense packed cellulose.
And while this may have been considered a beautiful facelift for the 1970s, we have other ideas in mind.
We have had the stairs rebuilt, added windows on the south side, and insulated the walls.
And in the process of our deep energy retrofit, we upgraded the entire house to meet or exceed today's Vermont Energy Code. Since the rafters were only 5 inches thick, the slope ceilings were under-insulated. We had no intention to remove the slate roofing on the exterior, but we needed to address the air leakage in this area. Therefore, we added an additional 3 or 4 inches of blocking,
which allowed us to fill the cavity with about 8 inches of closed cell foam, obtaining an R value of 50 and air sealing the roof slopes.
This renovation is still ongoing, and we are at least a year or more from moving in. Upstairs, the walls have been framed and the plumbing and electrical are roughed in.
We even have sheetrock in a few rooms, and the original floors have been sanded down. Close, but not quite ready for us to move in.
On the outside of the house, we added 3 inches of exterior insulation. This was attached to the structure with long lag screws and large ribbed caps.
Once the layers of insulation were fastened in place, strapping was applied to prepare for the corrugated metal siding.
The most recent phase of the renovation, which is underway, is to put the house on a new solid foundation. And since we were lifting the house, we decided we should move it 40 feet back further from the road.
To do so, the house was lifted onto steel beams and wood cribbing.
The first phase of the house move was done by hand. The house was mounted on steel rollers and then pulled to the side with 2 come-alongs, slow and steady, inch by inch.
For the second phase of the house move, they used pneumatic rams to slide the house on the steel beams. Interestingly, the tops of the beams were coated with ivory soap to reduce friction.
And as of today, the house is sitting 57 feet away from where it was built 140 years ago. Now it's awaiting its new insulated foundation.
The end.
Sierra Pacific Windows is proud to have been selected for the Deep Energy Retrofit project in Manchester. Our sincere gratitude goes out to Alan Benoit and the team at Sustainable Design of Vermont for having worked with us on this project. We invite you to check out our website at www.sierrapacificwindows.com for more information.
At RK Miles, our business is focused on providing our contractor customers with what is most important to them, receiving deliveries that are complete and on time. From the initial sale through final delivery, our team takes care of it all, so you receive what you expect when you expect it. Celebrating our 80th year of delivering orders on time and in full. RK Miles, with full-service lumberyards throughout Vermont and Western Massachusetts.
I can't imagine having to do anything other than this with a wood buck. There's no way that I can envision using a wood buck and getting it sealed up properly that I could be comfortable with. This solves that problem. I'm so excited about the thermal buck system, and there's nothing else like it that I can find. So I think it's a great product, and I highly recommend it. It's working out great for us.
Building Right is me, Pete Yost. My work encompasses all aspects of building performance with an emphasis on moisture control and heat transfer. I work with architects to review design and specifications, and I work with homeowners, builders, and remodelers to do initial assessments of buildings or investigate failures. Go to www.building-right, that's right with a W, to see what I can do for you and your building.
Okay. Thank you, Alan and Nancy. And let's turn now to Jonathan, who will be fielding some of the questions that folks have clicked on. And Nancy and Alan will be, there they are, ready to answer your questions. So Jonathan, take it away.
Okay, so we have just a few questions here so far. Audrey says the windows are triple glazed only on the north, dual on other sides. Are they casement windows?
No, actually they're awnings. They're all awning windows.
So that's similar to a casement because it closes tightly.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Why didn't you move the house before starting the renovation?
Good question. Why didn't we?
I think it's like everything. The more you dig into something, the more you discover. And when we realized how bad the crawl space was under the house, it really concerned us that we weren't going to be able to get it to be as efficient as we had hoped. And also, we had a lot of trees to the south side of the house that were blocking our solar gain for the winter. So by moving the house back, not only from the street, it put us in a much better exposure for winter sun. And part of the addition we're putting on the house is a small greenhouse. So we really needed that south-facing exposure.
I think also when we purchased the property, we were just too excited to just get our hands on it, and demo was the easiest thing to just start doing. And it was just quicker to get going with that. So that we chugged along with that for almost 2 years.
Okay. What type of new foundation will the house get? And what will it be insulated with?
Great question. So initially, we're going to use a thermal mass system, which is insulation, 4 inches of insulation between 8 inches of concrete. But as the design is evolving, we have decided now that we can have windows in the basement, that we're going to just insulate to the inside of the foundation wall. So we'll have R20 insulation on the interior as a minimum. And then under the slab, we're using a product called Glavel, which is actually recycled bottles that's kind of turned into almost like a pumice-like stone. And we have a foot of that underneath our slab in the basement for insulation.
So I'm going to ask a follow-up question on that. Where is that available from?
So if the pandemic didn't happen this year, it would be available in New York State. So we were hoping by the time we needed it, it would be up and running in New York. Unfortunately, the startup of that facility has been delayed, and we had to import ours from Germany.
Huh. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Susan just liked the presentation. Thank you very much. So Tim says, he's the one from Montana. We have asbestos siding too, and are thinking to bury it behind insulation and rain screen and new siding. This would eliminate the dangers of removing the asbestos. Tell me your thoughts on this versus your program of removal.
Well, we had to remove the asbestos so we could get back to the sheathing, the original sheathing, to apply a weather, a WRB, and then put exterior insulation. I guess if you didn't have to put exterior insulation, it's okay to cover it if it's not getting disturbed.
Yeah, and we feel strongly about applying exterior insulation to any wall. Just totally reduces the potential for condensation in the wall and increases the durability of the structure. So that was kind of always our feeling from the beginning, that we're going to have to remove it.
I should say that my experience is that the asbestos siding is not a problem unless you start to break it apart. Right. Because it's not, as they say, it's not friable, so you don't get the asbestos dust. So Tim, be very careful about that, but there are other ways of dealing with the asbestos. Okay, Tom McLaughlin. Biden declared winner. So next, what changes to the envelope would you do today?
As opposed to?
Well, as you've done, as you've worked on this project.
So we were just talking about this. We would have put at least triple pane windows in the entire structure if we could start over.
That's the one thing that we don't know why we just didn't stretch to that extent. And we do it for clients, and why didn't we do that for us? And for some reason we just skipped over that. Even though we do this every day for other people, we're struggling with our own project to make decisions in a timely manner.
It's hard to be your own client and keep working full time.
I had the same experience. It's really tough to work for yourself.
We are all for triple pane windows everywhere.
Yeah. So does the thermal buck provide a thermal break?
Yes, I have a sample of thermal buck here in my hand. And you can see it's made out of a high density EPS insulation. So it's a complete thermal break for the window.
And can you just describe how that goes into the window opening?
Sure. If this is the rough opening, it sits on the sill and then the window sits inside. So if it's a flange mounted window, it would get mounted to the outside face.
And the same is true of the sides of the frame, right?
Correct. Sides, top, bottom, all four sides.
Okay. So are you going to, I assume you're going to end up with a full, the question is where you're going to add height to the crawl space, but I'm assuming you're going to have a full basement now, right?
Yes, yes, we are.
Okay. Somebody else has to say something about the new president. What's the PSI of the thermal buck?
I do not know off the top of my head. I know you can drive a pickup truck on it. So if that's what their concern is, how strong it is, it's a very dense material. There's a nice video of the builder turned inventor of this product driving his pickup truck right on it, using it as a ramp. So it's a very, very durable, very dense EPS insulation. Can certainly try to find that information if somebody would like to email us.
Well, they can also go to thermal buck.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Do screws need to go through the buck to the framing?
So the buck is adhered using, it's a Dynaflex 800, I think, or 400. But it's basically a caulking adhesive that keeps the thermal buck in place, but it is tack nailed until the adhesive hardens, or dries, I should say, cures.
Do you have a bedroom on the first floor? Any other accommodations for aging in place?
Our master plan is that when we retire, our first floor office space for our business will become our master suite if we feel we can't climb stairs anymore. But we hope that's not the case, but that's our backup plan.
So we're hopeful that we get to retire and end our business before we need a first floor living space.
And one last question. Oh no, there's several. What type of greenhouse are you going to add?
Great. It's a access from the basement. So it's actually a pit greenhouse is what it's called. So soil level will be up to chest height. And when you're standing inside the greenhouse, you know, your head will just be sticking up above grade. And then it'll be south facing glazing from there.
And where did you get this design?
We were inspired by a greenhouse in Connecticut, Logie's greenhouse from the turn of the century, I believe.
Yep, it was the first pit greenhouse we had ever entered or seen. And the logic behind it being part of our home, well, besides that we love plants and growing things, is that the greenhouse will be heated by our primary heating system of the home. So we won't have to have an external source of heat for the greenhouse. And we get to enter it from our home.
Right. So it'll act like our sunroom in the winter, and the ground source heat pump will be heating and cooling, at least heating it.
Yes.
Maybe cooling it.
Okay, Jonathan, Alan, and Nancy, I think
one more question. How is your all electric getting to net zero?
Sure, we have community solar. So we're offsetting all of our use with the community solar array, which we already own.
Great.
Okay. All right, folks. I will also say for Alan and Nancy that they appeared through on Efficiency Vermont's Button Up Vermont program on Wednesday of this week. And it was actually a lengthier program with a lot of Q&As. So you can go to Button Up Vermont and you can find Alan and Nancy's program that was done then. And they did pitch this program as well.
Holmes Construction is focused on quality and attention to detail. We pride ourselves on cost-conscious, high-performance building, pleasing aesthetics, and fine finish work.
Hello, this is Scott Mathis from Mathis Builders. We are a full-service construction company specializing in thoughtful renovations and high-performance new construction in the Southern Vermont region. Our mission is to help clients realize their dreams while taking into account the budget, schedule, and aesthetic goals of the project. We offer professional pre-construction and construction management services to ensure that the process of building your dream is as enjoyable as the outcome. Contact us today at mathishumebuilders.com to get started.
For 30 years, Dave Carter has been fashioning aesthetic solutions in solid wood. Nest Woodworking is looking for opportunities with which to continue the adventure.
So what this does is it brings us to the end. For those that need to sign off, an hour and a half may be all that you can take. But everyone from Andrew, Garrow, Bob, and Alan and Nancy have said they're willing to stay on for another till noontime. So in the meantime, what I'd like to do is to simply say that we at SEON hope that really this gives you an eye as to what it is that you're looking for, whether it's going to be a new home, whether an addition or a deep energy retrofit. Gives you an idea of some of the concepts and processes that are needed, as well as an understanding of what you're looking for in terms of your building professional. We will be sending out to you, we couldn't put it up on this screen today, but we will be sending you a feedback form. This was our first time in doing this. We had no idea what was expected. We hope this came out well for you. I will also say that many of you selected the free option, which was great. Our goal was really to expand our reach to as many people as possible. That's always been part of our mission. But in hindsight, if you found this to be rewarding, we would appreciate if you did go to our website at seon.info and donate. That would be helpful. But the free option was clearly there for you. So this brings us to an end. We wish you all The best, especially during this difficult time, especially in Vermont. The governor has said, please do not do holiday travel. That was a broadcast today. So this is not an easy time. But for those who are leaving, be well, practice good safety measures. Thanks for attending. For all others, please stay on. And the folks and Jonathan will be fielding some of those questions. My best to you all.
Okay, so am I live?
You are live.
Okay, so we have a few questions which we didn't get to. And I think we're going to have to, yeah, there we go. And they're unmuting everybody. It's good. All right. So as far for the Sugar Bush house, this woman wants to get slides of the R values. Bob and Garrow?
Let's see. I think that the R values, I can't remember if they're in the presentation or not, but we can certainly get those out. I mean, roughly the roof was 100, the walls were 50. But yeah, Garrow, do you remember if the actual R values are in the presentation?
They are.
Okay.
Let me just pull them up. Oh, don't wait for me. I'll feed you the information later.
Okay. There was a question about the Runtal radiators. That was Sun Hill. Okay, I can answer that question. The Runtal radiator is a very slim, baseboard type hot water baseboard heater. Okay, the rest is all the rest of these questions can be directed to Jonathan Klein. And lots of thank yous. That's really nice. Thank you very much. Okay. Eliza says, my question is how the impact of large windows, however energy efficient, on bird mortality can be minimized. Are efforts being made to inform homeowners about available options to achieve this result? And I can attest to that. We have large windows on our house, and we've had a few, not too many, but a few birds have hit the windows, and some of them have died. I don't know of any. Maybe some of the rest of you know some of the mitigation measures which could be employed for that.
It is an issue, and I would refer people to check out the Cornell Lab of Ornithology for solutions. They have some, it's a great place to start. There are decals. There are various people working on types of glass, patterns in the glass that you really can't see as a person, but birds can see. And I haven't heard too much about that actually coming to fruition, but it is an issue.
And they also recommend that if you do put up a bird feeder, that you keep it within 2 feet of your window. That way they can't pick up speed.
That's right. Actually, we do have a couple of bird feeders that are within 2 feet, and they still hit the window. But I guess you're right, they can't be flying full speed.
Maybe they're incoming and they have really bad aim.
I think that's about it.
There's one more for Nancy and Alan.
Oh, right. The ground source heat pump. Would you describe that?
Sure. So if you're familiar with an air source heat pump, it's very similar to that. If you're not familiar with how an air source heat pump works, it uses a compressor, a compressed gas, very similar to an air conditioning unit or your refrigerator. So at some point it is giving off heat. So your refrigerator either gives off heat to the floor or up the top, and then it's creating cold from the compression and release of that gas. So the compressor situation is about the same in all heat pumps. The way a ground source heat pump works that's different is that it has wells that are drilled into the ground, and the earth is a very consistent between 45 and 55 degrees year round. So it is much more efficient than an air source heat pump because the ground is a much steadier heat sink. So, outside, if it's 95 degrees and you're trying to create air conditioning with an air source heat pump, it's a very challenging and low efficient way to do that. But if the ground is only 50 degrees, certainly a much quicker and more efficient way to generate air conditioning in the summer. And likewise in the winter, if it's 20 below zero outside and you're using an air source heat pump, it takes a lot more energy to get that negative 20 air up to 70 degrees versus, water temperature that's closer to 50 degrees. So more efficient way of using a more stable temperature medium.
Okay. A general question for Guy and Teresa. Will answers to any individual questions be available to all viewers? If so, how to access?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair question, and we haven't worked through what that would look like. But I think we can, once we have the answers, we can come up with a system where you can find it on our website. So we'll work on that. That's sort of our roundup for what we did today.
Yep. Okay, I think that's about it. I hope that all of you have had a wonderful time. I know that I have. It's been really, really challenging to get this going. And I'm really glad that all of you that I can see on the screen now were able to put in as much time as you did. And I guess that's it, Guy. Over to you. Uh-oh, Guy is frozen.
Okay, I think I'll just say that I really appreciate the efforts that SEON made to organize this. I think it went really well. I want to thank all the other participants as well. It's really fun for me, coming from the Unity side where we do things in a particular way, to see how much good creative work is being done by other builders and architects out there. I always learn something when I participate in these things, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you all for your contributions.
Great. I think it was a great mix of different projects as well. So it was a good balance.
Yeah.
I think we're done.
I know. I think we need to go read the newspapers or something.
That's right.
It's not on the newspapers yet.
No, I jumped over to NPR real quick, so sorry.
Teresa, can you end our show, please?
Bobby, you're saying that we get to light off those fireworks we bought?
Or drink something that you bought, or maybe you already finished that last week.
Thanks, everybody. I'm not sure how we're bringing this to an end.
Oh, we can say goodbye and
so long, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.